Good day, everyone. My name is LVD Azarcon, and today I will be going to discuss the Module 1, Lesson 2, the ethical dimension of human existence. Okay, so through time, human exists. Human exists through the cultures of others, adopting the cultures, adopting the changes, and coming from his environment where he or she grew up. So, human existence, human possess actions, conduct, or judgment. And where do you think would it fall to? Is it ethical one or unethical one? Okay, so let's find out with this lesson. Ethics. What is ethics? It is rules provided by an external source about matters such as a good thing that we should pursue and the bad thing that we should avoid. It is also matter about the acceptable and unacceptable in human behavior. For example, the law. The law didn't teach us to pursue the good thing or to do the good thing, but rather, it teaches us things that we should avoid. Ethics also involve obligations that we are expected to fulfill, prohibitions that we are required to respect, or ideals that we are encouraged to meet. For example, when COVID-19 pandemic strike in year 2020, we are encouraged or we are intended to respect the ordinance coming from the government wherein physical contacts are prohibited since it is given that the government conduct lockdown in all places around the country. So we are encouraged to respect the orders coming from the government. And there are also two kinds of valuations. The first one is the etiquette and the second one is technique. For the first one is etiquette, it is concerned with the right and wrong actions. For example, it is right thing to knock on someone's door, but it is wrong to barge into one's office. That is an example of etiquette. And for technique, is often used to refer to a proper way or right way of doing things. Proper way of doing things. But a technical valuation may not necessarily be an ethical one. For example, when learning how to bake, is it right thing to mix first the dry ingredients such as flour or sugar and before bringing up the milk or cream? So that is fall to the discussion of technique. That is the two kind of valuations. And also it is important to recognize the characteristics of technical valuation since it allows us to have delve knowledge onto the discussion of what belongs to ethics. So, for example, matters such as life and death, such as war, where it involved the lives of the innocent people, and sexual identity and capital punishment, also euthanasia or the mercy killing, that is included in the discussion of ethics. For instance, there are also times when we make value judgment, but that is not considered to be part of ethics. Again, for example, you would say, the K-drama I watched yesterday was a good one because I like romantic genre. Or, the song I heard played on the radio was a bad one because it has an unpleasant tone because you don't also like the genre of the song. And that would fall to the valuations under the domain of aesthetics. So aesthetics derived from Greek word aesthesis, sense or feeling, refers to judgment of personal approval or disapproval that we may see, hear, smell, or taste. So anything that we see in our environment or in our society, and everything that we could hear, smell, or taste, for example, the taste that you would think what is the right sausawan for chicken barbecue. All the things that you make judgment onto personal things that you have the sense of approval or disapproval. That is aesthetics. Moving on to ethics and morals. Morals used to refer to specific beliefs or attitudes that people have or to describe acts that people perform. And morality is also the quality that human actions possess. Moral judgment or moral reasoning suggests a more rational aspect. It means it is more reasonable. It is more understanding or having understanding in its reason. Ethics can be spoken of as of the discipline of studying and understanding ideal human behavior and ideal ways of thinking, and it is acknowledged as an intellectual discipline to philosophy. Acceptable and unacceptable behavior are generally described as ethical and unethical. When that behavior is acceptable, that means it is ethical. Or if that behavior is unacceptable, that means that is unethical. So ethics taught us to be disciplined. Professional ethics are the acceptable and unacceptable ways of behaving in a given field. So in the field of medicine, in the field of legal ethics, there's also in the field of law. Legal ethics, for example, have a proper comportment of lawyers and other people in the legal profession. Medical ethics for doctors and nurses, and media ethics for writers and reporters. So that certain profession, there is a proper way or acceptable and unacceptable ways of behaving in a given field. An individual can behave in an acceptable way or in an unacceptable way. That would already actually would fall to that two kinds. Is it acceptable or unacceptable ways of behaving in a given field? Philosophy comes from a Greek word that translates to love of wisdom, remains as the unique discipline that asks significant questions that other fields are unable to address. So since philosophy answers all the questions around the world, it is all about our questions. There are different branches of philosophy correspond to some of these questions. First, metaphysics wonders as to what constitutes the whole of reality. So what is the forms of the whole of reality? Second one is epistemology, asks what is our basis for determining of what we know. Third one is axiology, refers broadly to the study of value and is often divided into aesthetics, which concerns itself with the value of human actions, and aesthetics concerns itself with the value of beauty and ethics. Proceeding to the discussion of descriptive and normative. So there are two kinds, descriptive study and normative study, or descriptive view or normative view. So descriptive study reports how people of particular groups make their moral valuations without making any judgment either for or against this valuation. So this often work involved with a social scientist, either a historian, sociologist, or anthropologist. Historian wherein is studying different moral standards over time, and anthropologists or sociologists studying different moral standards across cultures. So since culture is the habits acquired by man as a member of the society, and the normative study, often done in philosophy or moral theology, engages the question what could or should be considered as a light way of acting, prescribes what we ought to maintain as our standards or basis for moral valuations. So actually, there are standards for moral valuations. Like there are things that we are ought to maintain as the standards. Okay, so proceeding to issue, decision, judgment, and dilemma. Moral issue distinguish a situation that calls for moral valuations. So for example, imagine a situation wherein a person cannot afford that certain item, and then there's a possibility that he or she would steal it. So it is a matter of ethics. Why? Because that involves the question of respecting one's property. So since you're stealing that specific or that particular thing, that is also called ethics. That would fall to the discussion of ethics, since he or she steal, and stealing is you are tend to disrespect someone's property. And it became an issue when a particular situation it became a debatable, or it became source of an argue. And for example also moral issue, just like euthanasia, or mercy killing, that is an example of moral issue. Proceeding to moral decision, when one placed in a situation and confronted by the choice of what act to perform. For example, I choose not to take something I did not pay for. So that is moral decision. Since you decide, you choose not to take things that you did not pay for. And moral judgment, when a person is observer who makes assessment on the actions or behavior of someone. For example, my friend steal something in that store and I make an assessment that it is wrong. So that is moral judgment when you think or anything that you observe in the society that someone behave or act in a way and you make personal judgment or you make assessment that whether he or she commits or behave an action that considered to be wrong or right, correct or wrong. And moral dilemma is going beyond the matter of choosing right over wrong or good over bad and considering instead the more complicated situation wherein one is torn between choosing one of two goods or choosing between the lesser of two evils. So that is moral dilemma. And that is the scope and limitation of my report, and feel free to ask any questions. And thank you for listening and have a great day ahead. This is Manel Vidiaz Arcon, your reporter.